use on your own or however you want to use it. We just want to take away some of the mystery from some of these things. And what better place to start than with weight loss, right? This is billions and billions of dollars a year hoodwinking us all with pills and approaches and eliminating entire food groups or only eating one food type. So in order to best show you about the fad diets, what I want to do first is look at what a healthy diet looks like. And this is from experts. This is from the USDA. And this is a little bit of a skewed graphic that we have here. I came in when I started school. I was somewhere around in here in college is what I was looking at. In the beginning, we had sort of this graphic that the USDA went with. Then we went over to here, and then we came to the My Food Guide pyramid, and then we came down here to this atrocity that nobody could really figure out what to make of it. And finally, they came up with the My Plate. Now, can everybody see this?
Yes.
I understand this particular graphic is busy, but
Look at that.
right? I mean, that really makes it simple and easy to understand. So you look at your plate, and this is what you want to have. You want to have your vegetables, a lot of vegetables here, right? Some fruit, some grains, some protein here, and dairy. All 5 food groups represented very well. It's the USDA, so they had no interest in this, right? In getting us to eat the meats and the dairy and the... Okay, but it's not just the USDA, this is a healthy, balanced way to eat. Okay? Let's move right on here. I just wanted to show you this real quick. The My Plate initiative, how many people have seen My Plate somewhere? That icon that I was just on. You seen that? I mean, I've seen it on microwaves, on refrigerators. This is actually, you can go to their webpage, and there's a lot of really great information for you there. And one of the great things it has is a calorie tracker. So I just want to point this out to you now, that this is really good information if you go to the My Plate. Great nutrition information there. So let's get right into fad diets. First of all, what is a fad, right? A fad, an intense and widely shared enthusiasm for something, especially one that is short-lived or a craze. So that's what a fad is. And a fad diet looks something like this usually, right? You check her out there on the side. She's a normal lady. And then she thins right out, and then what happens? The after. She balloons right back up. What happens there? What's the reason for that? Anybody? These diets aren't usually sustainable, are they? So you do them, and you go in, and it's by your nails and your teeth, and you get through, and you're happy, but then you can't sustain it. And then life jumps in, and the next thing you know, not only did you gain weight back, right? She's worse off than when she started. She's bigger than she was. And she look at that face. That is not a happy life. Boo fad diets, right? But the fact is, if you stay away from the cabbage diets, and if you stay away from the diets that tell you, well, you can't eat protein and carbs at the same time, there are some diets that will actually work for you with some caveats. So let's get right into some of them. We've got the ketogenic diet. Raise your hand if you've heard of the ketogenic diet. Okay. Intermittent fasting. Anybody? Okay. Plant-based, vegan diet. All right. The paleo or caveman diet. Tear somebody's head off and eat it. And then the zone. Anybody here heard of the zone? That's back when I was in college, one of my favorites. Heard of the zone? The zone is the diet that brought Jennifer Aniston from a size 10 to a size 2. And she's stayed there ever since. She's a strong proponent of the zone. And then the Mediterranean diet. Anybody?
That's what.
Okay. How many of you here have been on a quote-unquote fad diet before? How many of you believe that you're on one now? Okay. Receptive audience. Ready? Okay. So, before we get into the fad diets, I'm going to give you a crash course in nutrition. Just a real quick look through. So we have the 3 macronutrients, right? You'll hear about carbs. Oh, they're the villain, right? No carbs, no carbs. Carbohydrates. We have the proteins and we have the fats. And you'll notice they overlap. Some foods are both a protein and a carbohydrate. Some foods are both a fat and a protein. Okay, so there's your 3 macronutrients. However, there's actually 4 macronutrients. If you notice the 4th one there, so you've got carbs, protein, fat, and alcohol. Just so you're aware, with alcohol is its own macronutrient. It's got more calories per gram than protein or carbs. It's actually coming in at 7 calories per gram, which is close to fat. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of telling you all that I'm going to tell you about alcohol consumption and how it can really derail not just your program, but possibly your life. I have no problem with alcohol, just like for people to understand it. Just a quick understanding for what we're talking about here with nutrition. When you ingest alcohol, as soon as you ingest the alcohol, your body is all about just getting rid of it. So it's not going to burn anything. It's not going to do anything except for get rid of that alcohol. So moving right along. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the preferred energy source of your muscles and your brain. This is close to glucose. These are necessary and preferred by your body. They usually come from your fruits, your vegetables, your grains. Carbohydrate consumption triggers an insulin response in your body. Does anybody know what that means? What does that mean if an insulin response is triggered in your body? It means that you're going to store fat. So insulin comes along like the gate guard, and as soon as it detects the sugar, then it's going to start storing the sugar that's in your system as fat. Now that's a very simplistic way of looking at it, but that is one of the primary reasons that carbs are vilified, because eating them initiates fat storage. Carbohydrate is stored in the liver, in the muscles as fat, and in the body, both fat and protein can be turned into carbohydrates. There are nutritious carbohydrates, right? And then there are the empty carbohydrates. When we say empty carbohydrate, what that means is there's no nutrition in there. You're getting calories, but you're not getting any of the precious nutrients that your body needs. Okay, moving along. Fat's been vilified as well, but just a couple of things about fat. It protects your organs. It actually enables vitamin absorption. So there's a lot of vitamins that if you're not taking fat in, these vitamins cannot be absorbed. One of the best things about fat is that whenever you eat it, you tend to be satisfied, right? That's one of the reasons why people love keto so much. It's so high in fat. It's satisfying. You're not starving to death. Fat, as I said earlier, it can be changed into sugar in the body if it needs to be. And excess accumulation at the abdomen. So this happens to women and men. And you'll notice your belly gets big. And not only is it big, it's hard. So, like my dad, for example, will tell me, well, it's still that, you know? And what is happening right there is that fat is actually storing underneath your muscle all around your organs. And your organs are trying to work, and it's sending off all sorts of hormones. It's bad stuff. There is debate about whether saturated versus unsaturated fat is saturated fat bad. So some people will tell you, oh, I love butter, I love coconut oil. Other people will tell you, oh, those are saturated fats, you can't eat those. But there's no debate about this guy. Trans fats. These are the Frankenstein of the nutrition world. So if you're eating a processed cupcake on a 7-Eleven shelf, you're eating trans fats. And what they do is they take a fat, like a vegetable oil, and they pump some hydrogen into it so it's nice and thick like butter, but it's not butter. And what that means is that 100 years from now, somebody can come and get the same cupcake you just ate, and it'll probably taste okay, it'll be all right, but it's got this guy, man-made fat. Okay? Now, protein. When we think of protein, most of the time, people think about muscle, think about building muscle, and we think about losing weight. And the people that I've talked to who are clients of mine will have heard me talk about this. Protein is so much more than just about weight loss or just about building muscle. Every single component of you, including your bones, we think of bones as these white, dead things that hold us up. They're more of a pink, and they're very important to, well, obviously, sorry about that, to your immunity and so forth. All of this is protein. Your hormones, your enzymes, your neurotransmitters. You have to eat protein to get protein. It's not coming out of nowhere. So if you aren't getting enough protein, your body will catabolize your lean muscle mass and use that instead. Protein, this is two of the best things about the protein. Digestion of protein. So let's say I eat a chicken breast. About 30% of those calories will be burned off just processing the protein. And the second thing, just the same way that insulin will store fat, glucagon is a hormone that's released in response to protein. So when you eat the protein, glucagon is released, and you will begin to burn fat. So it brings the fat out of storage. So if you're eating protein all throughout the day, you're continually bringing that fat out to be burned. And this is just a graphic that I found that kind of details what I was saying about how precious the protein is. I'm not going to go through all of these things here. I just want you to understand you really need to consume protein. And just to touch on it, we tend to think as we get older, we don't need as much protein. And we tend to do a tea and toast kind of diet. The fact is that as we age, as we want to lose weight, if we have any sort of illness, we need at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, at least. And that can go up to 2 grams if we're really trying to lose weight, if we're really sick. And the amount of protein that is, you would have to eat a lot of protein. And this is where I advise people to get a protein shake or 2 in throughout the day, because your protein needs really go up. And again, if you're not getting that protein, it's going to catabolize your muscle. As your muscle goes, guess what? You're not burning as much calories, so you're going to store fat. So it's going to look almost like your muscles turning to fat, but that's not actually what's happening. Just consuming more protein is a huge step in the right direction. Back to alcohol, I'm just going to plunk right through these. If Karen was here, she would tell me, leave people alone about alcohol. But I will leave you alone about the alcohol, but I really am passionate about people understanding how this stuff works in your system. So, as I said before, processing takes precedence over everything else. It wants to get the poison out. The alcohol, just the alcohol, in any drink is about 100 to 150 calories. And I've noticed a lot of people will drink light beers. What the light beer does is takes away a little bit of the alcohol. That's where they get their calorie reduction. So you end up nailing down a couple more of those to get your buzz. Okay, and in addition to that, we typically, trust me, I'm speaking from experience. 8 months ago, I stopped drinking and I was 200 pounds. So. It's not the only thing, but it's a big thing. It's typically mixed with sugars, which compounds fat storage. You lower inhibitions, you got a hangover, you're eating cheeseburgers, french fries, Cokes, you just gotta get me through this day. That's not a comment on the way I drink, I'm just saying for you all. In addition to that, it will deplete vital micronutrients. So your vitamins, your minerals, things like that. Alcohol will play havoc with that. It's dehydrating, and I mean dehydrating meaning not just the water. When you start drinking a drink, almost immediately, your body is like, for whatever reason, I'm blanking on it now, it will just begin flushing water out. And people will say, well, I'm going to drink 2 glasses of water in between my drinks, all the different things that we do. And they're just peeing more and more and more. It won't hold on to a bit of it. It just flushes right out of your system. It's bad for your gut health, increased cancer risk, I'm off my cookie. Okay, so what do we know so far about a healthy diet? 30% vegetables, 20% fruits, 30% grains, 20% proteins, half of your plates, vegetables and fruit, half of your grains are complex carbohydrates, which means they just came up out of the ground, they haven't been processed yet.
You need to back up and repeat the past.
Yeah. Oh, you walk in right after the alcohol. All right, everybody.
Timing is everything, right? Jeez, people.
Literally, as soon as I flipped the slide, you walked in. They're like, I'm not listening to it. Okay, so if you take a look at this, how many of you have heard the no carb, low carb? You've heard that, right? How much carbs is on this plate? This is 80% of what's on your plate is a carbohydrate, right? And that's a healthy way of eating. So that kind of goes against some of what we're going to see going forward. So this is a healthy diet, and this is keto. Okay? Look at that. People say it's a protein diet. That is a fat diet. The keto diet is a high-fat diet. 20 to 25% protein, 5 to 10% carbs. So what are we losing here? We're losing all of our micronutrients. We're losing fiber. The USDA is not happy at all. You're going to eat more meat to make them happy. So, but this, the ketogenic diet is actually a good diet for certain people. Not extremely sustainable, but it can be really good. It's obviously high fat, low carbohydrates, satisfying, fast results. I've got clients that just tell me straight up, if I don't see results right away, I'm gonna cave. That's gonna be the end for me. I've gotta see something happening. And that's where a keto diet, and when I say a keto diet, there's a million ways to do this. I mean, you can do it where you're actually getting a good amount of carbohydrates. The keto diet is the Atkins diet reinvented. So for those of you who know Atkins, that's basically what the keto diet is. That's what he would have you buy the little strips to test that you weren't supposed to. And here's the really interesting part. Demonstrated ability to lower the markers of metabolic syndrome. Right, let's go back here. Who knows what metabolic syndrome is? Anybody? We'll get into that. I want you to look one more time here at all this fat. Metabolic syndrome, heart disease, lipid problems, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, dementia, cancer, polycystic ovarian syndrome, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and you notice what's going on here with them, right? Now, if you look at that picture, who would think that a high-fat diet would benefit him? But it will. It will diminish the markers of metabolic syndrome. It will actually cause your HDL to go up, your LDL to go down, and for pre-diabetic symptoms to regress. So, kind of a weird thing. The USDA is never going to support a ketogenic diet. However, the facts are demonstrated and shown and proven that it does help with metabolic syndrome. A cluster of biochemical and physiological abnormalities associated with the development of cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. The causes are generally obesity will cause it, inactivity, insulin resistance, which is where insulin resistance comes from consuming too much sugar. So all this fat accumulation, it goes back to what? Sugar consumption. The downside to keto, who's done keto? Anyone? Did you want to just like grab somebody and rip their arm off and eat it? It makes you can quickly get pretty angry. It makes you tired. Don't ever try to have an exercise routine when you're doing a keto diet. I've heard that people can. You're just, it's all you can do to get out of bed. Fatigue, negative emotions, gut health, very little fiber. Very little healthy bacteria when you're on keto. Show me a person fully on keto and I'll show you a person that is not regular, right? dehydration, when you've got these I don't want to go too far into any one diet, but when you've got ketosis going on, you're burning fat pretty fast for energy, and you got to flush it out. And you're losing a lot of your water, you're losing your potassium, you're losing your sodium. So it is good, and it is actually used in medical environments for people who are morbidly obese and can't lose weight any other way. However, it just really isn't the best solution for anyone, because for one thing, it's difficult to sustain. You might think a steak is delicious, but when you're having steak day after day after day, and you don't have the potato, and you don't have the other components of your delicious meal, it gets old pretty quick. One more mozzarella cheese stick and I'm out of here, you know? So, next we've got intermittent fasting. I thought this graphic was fantastic. This I believe is showing the most popular version, which is the 16 eat, with intermittent fasting and that most popular approach. Basically, you're just skipping breakfast. You have your last meal at 8 in the evening, you go the whole day round, you skip breakfast, you have a black coffee and water, and then come noon, you eat normal again until 8 o'clock. Or, we assume you're eating normal. Some people don't eat so normal. Some people just eat whatever they can throw in their mouth. Again, difficult to sustain. Again, as we said, with protein, what happens when you're not getting food, then your body starts catabolizing your muscle. It's a little wonky. Alright. The good part of intermittent fasting, it will stimulate growth hormone. That's something that depletes as you get older. Growth hormone helps with muscle, it helps with a lot of other good things. Cellular repair, toxin removal. It flips the switch on negative gene expression. It burns up fat stores. It also burns up muscle. Lowers your metabolism. If you're going without food, your metabolism is going to drop down. Catabolizes lean muscle mass, which is what I said, and not for those prone to disordered eating. The last thing you want to do for somebody who is having a hard time eating in a healthy way, meaning psychologically, is to give them something like this where they're just not eating at all.
Lisa, excuse me, what is negative gene expression?
Flips the switch on negative gene expression. That looks to me like Lisa wrote something out really wonky. But basically what it's saying is when your genes can be sort of flipped on, flipped off. So if you have a gene that is flipped on that's producing a negative result in your life, this can flip it off. Does that make sense? Get with me after. I'll find a better way to explain it. Do other people, does anybody have a better way of putting that? Okay. Guys, I want a little more interaction. Okay, one big downfall. When your body, this is a little metaphor that I like to use with my clients, which is you can liken your metabolism to a wood stove. And there's a little old guy in the middle of, say, the Arctic wilderness, and he's in there with the wood stove, and he's got coal, which would be fat, and he's got wood, which would be carbs, and then he's got protein, which would be $100 bills. As soon as this guy gets the idea that he doesn't have more fuel coming, he will not touch the fat, he will not touch the carbs, he will throw those $100 bills right into the fire. He will catabolize, which is my way of saying your body will catabolize your muscle before it touches your fat or carbohydrate stores, and it feels like it's in trouble. It feels like there's not going to be more food. Does that make sense? Vegan and plant-based, whole food plant-based, they're on the side. This is fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, oils, beans, legumes. Can be loaded with fantastic micronutrients, fiber, antioxidants. Can be tricky to get optimal complete protein. Portion size and food choices are still vital to weight loss. So compared to my plate, you remember the my plate, this is vegan. There's no difference really, right? There's no dairy, but you can actually get plenty of calcium from almonds. Okay? You've got, down here, you've got plant-based protein. When you have an animal protein, that is a complete protein. And what that means is, when you eat it, your body's gonna break it down to its basic amino acids, then it puts them back together and uses them. With the animal protein, you've got all 26 of the amino acids that you need to work with. When you eat plants, they're usually not complete. So they'll have some of the amino acids here, some of the amino acids here, some here. Well, until your body has complete, it won't move forward with synthesizing. But the great thing about, for example, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is a complete protein because the bread has certain proteins and then the peanut butter has certain. Beans and rice, complete protein. So it just kind of works out that we tend to put these together anyway. It's not that difficult to do a plant-based diet and get the protein you need so long as you're making a conscious effort to be sure that you are. I talked earlier about the importance of protein, so you definitely, as much of an effort as it is for a meat eater, if you're not a meat eater, you really need to know what you're doing here. But still, this is very close to a healthy diet, right? Just no meat. Now, plant-based doesn't always mean healthy, and you can see that here. Delicious plant-based over here. This is plant-based also. This macaroni and cheese and nasty French fries, cookie down here, and they threw a couple. They decorated your plate. You can throw this away after, throw it at a friend, throw it at somebody because you're mad you can't eat meat. Moving right along to the paleo diet. So this is a complete 180, right? We were just absolutely no meat. Now we're like, I just want meat and water. They do have your vegetables that aren't high starch. So these are going to be the vegetables that come out of the ground, right? Carrots or broccoli and so forth, not grains. And we've got fruits up here. They want you to take your vitamins. They want you to drink your water. No bread, no sugar, no milk, no rice, no corn, no beans, no potatoes. Sustainable? Yeah, not really. I mean, for some people, I guess so, but again, this just goes right back to the eating meat all day, and that's one of the funny things about a diet like the paleo or the caveman diet is it's difficult to prepare meals all day long. If you just eat a basic 3 or if you're going to 5 or 6 with your snacks, it's kind of difficult. When you start getting into this, what you end up with is some guy that's running around with a bag of diced up grilled chicken, and he's eating that all day long. It's not appetizing, it's not fun. But as far as weight loss, right, you know it's going to work. It will work in the short term. So something like this is something, if you're one of those people that says, you know what, I got to go all in and I need some results right away, you can do the caveman diet for a week or 2, and if you don't kill anybody, then you can move on from there to a more sustainable diet. Overview, high protein, high fat, moderate carbohydrate, no processed foods. That's another great thing about the caveman diet. It is getting rid of the processed foods, which are just terrible. When you're making food choices, always try to get as close as you can to what the original product was without all the extra hands touching it. It is high in saturated fat, which some people, there's that debate going on, and I'm not here to settle it. I'm just here to let you know there is a debate. It's not an absolute saturated fat is terrible for you. Anyway, difficult to adhere to. And I've already explained, dairies and grains are excluded, which means the fiber and the calcium can be excluded. The calcium you might get back from your nuts and things like that, and maybe some fiber too, but you're going to have to make a conscious effort with this. And again, the paleo diet goes a little ketogenic as well. So the paleo plate, it's really not that much different, is it, from my plate? We've got the vegetables, low glycemic carbs, healthy fats. Basically, we just got rid of the grains. Right. The Zone, this was my favorite diet because I love Jennifer Aniston. She got really skinny. The other great thing about the Zone, now if you look at this, this is kind of a wonky graphic, but again, there's nothing wrong with it. Look at all these great fruits vegetables down here, all these colors. This is so healthy. And then from here, we've got our low-fat proteins, right? So they're saying low-fat. You can't just go have a ribeye and be in the zone. And they're particular about the type of fats. And then you do have some grains and starches. When I did the zone in college, I would do like a protein shake and then eat a chocolate chip cookie and being in the zone. So it can get a little complicated. You've got, he wants to put like this much of this equals a block and this is that and that. It gets a little Weight Watchery that way, but like Weight Watchers, it's still a fantastic diet. You don't have to know all this because before my plate, the zone broke down for us. This is your plate. These are your carbs. This is your protein. Just a dash of fat right here. Now make sure your My Plate isn't huge. You need to be about a 9-inch plate, about the size of a plate in the 50s. Right? And now the Mediterranean diet. Anybody? Was it you, Diane? The Mediterranean diet is hailed by even medical professionals as a fantastic diet, and it does include red wine. So you've got a ton of vegetables, you've got a healthy protein, which means that you are limiting red meat, you are avoiding bacon, you are avoiding cold cuts and processed meats, avoiding. That just means you don't do it all the time, but you can do it sometimes. You're choosing healthy carbohydrates, water, tea, coffee, getting rid of the sugar, limiting the milk and dairy. And then over here, just load that sucker up in as little starch as possible. You can have the starch, you can have the bread, you can have the pasta, but it's sometimes, not all the time. So which of these, I haven't buried the lead very well here. Which of these diets will actually help with weight loss? None of them, all of them, or one of them? Just go ahead, throw it out.
All of them.
All of them will help with weight loss. All of them will. Great graphic, right? You've got all these different ways. So I'm thinking this is fasting, and this right here is keto. But it's just different ways of achieving the same goal, and it's just down to the person. You know, some people, it's very, very important to them that they are satiated, that they have fat. And so that diet's going to work much better for them. And for other people, it's just very important for them not to feel all bogged down. They want fruits and they want vegetables and they want to be able to have some wine. So it just depends on you. Because weight loss is dependent on one thing: the calories in versus the calories that are expended. Now, I've been hearing that my whole life, and it gets on my nerves, and I'll get to why. But basically, I mean, you see here, this proves it, that you just need to burn more than you're taking in. So that caloric deficit is the name of the game. But we want to do this in a way that is sustainable and comfortable and healthy and joyful. So it sounds easy, but it isn't. And this is what's always burned me up when I've heard professionals that say, well, it's just a matter of the calories you've got coming in and you got to get rid of them. Well, no duh. But think about how many of you have been pregnant. I'm assuming not you. Okay. When I was pregnant, I was hungry. I mean, I was like freaking hungry all the time. And that is because of my hormones. Like if you ever, were any of you the pregnant lady that like from here, you look normal and then you turn around and you got this really cute little ball? I was as wide, I was fat, I had rolls all over. And it wasn't simple and it wasn't easy. And I tried to eat healthy and I couldn't because my hormones were working against me. There were other things going on that just didn't make it possible for me to stop putting food in my mouth. And that's you know, when you're pregnant, your body decides it wants you to, certain ones of us, to put on a lot of fat to nurse that baby for a couple of years, and it doesn't want you to burn it, so it'll shift your metabolism down and you'll just be big as a house. Well, this can also happen with folks who, once you get to a certain degree, for example, I was just 200 pounds last August. It wasn't simple. It wasn't as simple as just eat a normal diet because there's hunger, there's all these factors that come in because you're on the same playing field as other people at this point. And that's where your keto diets and so forth will come in and help you. But it's not as simple as energy in versus energy out. Have you ever met someone who was just as thin as a rail and they tried everything they could and they ate everything on the table and they couldn't gain weight? And the same happens on the other side. You can eat well and you just can't lose the weight, and that's where those keto diets, fasting diet, it's a little something to come in there and get your system going. All right. So what is important to your successful weight loss? Because we're running out of time, just blow through these. That it's effective, right? You have to have the caloric deficit. It has to be observable progress early on. I don't know anyone who, when they really get to the point that they want to lose weight, wants to hear, oh, you're going to lose 1 pound per week. Stick with it when they're suffering and struggling and they don't feel good and their clothes don't fit well. They want some action. So it needs to be observable progress early on. And boy, adequate protein. This right here will help you lose weight. Get that protein in there. It's going to set you up into a fat burning mode. It's going to make you healthier and so forth. Then that is sustainable. Healthy, enjoyable, satisfying, and not too restrictive. Putting it together. So just in summary, you have to have a caloric deficit. For most people, that's about 1,500 calories for women, 2,000 calories for men. If you want to be specific with this, I can get with you and set you up your own personal eating plan. But adequate protein, the proper nutrition, you got to get vitamins and minerals. Those, we tend to think, oh, I'm taking a vitamin, it's good for me. It's vital for you. Your metabolism, vitamins are vital to your metabolism working well. So if you're not taking care and getting those micronutrients that you need, your body isn't going to work the way you want. You're going to feel terrible, and people who feel terrible eat cake. And then exercise. Exercise is never going to be your weight loss method because it doesn't work like that. If I go out here and run a mile as fast as I can, I'm going to burn about 120 calories, and then I'm going to come back and eat a piece of cheesecake that's 900 calories. It's not going to work that way. You have to do the nutrition first, but here's how the exercise will help you. You're going to release these feel-good hormones. You're going to set yourself up into a fat-burning mode. You're going to feel good. Maybe you're going to feel social. It's a great way to work hand in hand with your nutrition. And in addition to that, you're going to build muscle. And muscle is going to burn calories. So you're going to put, where I was saying, as we age, we're not getting enough protein, the body catabolizes our lean muscle mass, now we're gaining weight. This is the opposite. You start building some muscle, and I'll tell you, ladies, that fear of getting bulky, women who get bulky from lifting weights, they work hard at that. Muscle isn't going to jump up and grab you and throw you down. You have to work hard to get bulky. We need muscle because we're losing it at a rate of, Karen, what is it, 5% per decade, 3%? Oh, I thought you would know. Okay. All right, and then you got to stay hydrated. You got to flush your system. You want to function optimally, reduce fluid retention, and also a lot of times when we're thirsty, we think we're hungry. We want to eat, and we're just thirsty. And finally, limiting. We want to limit, not get rid of completely unless we have a reason to. Sugars, alcohol, trans fat, empty calories, and processed foods. And then from there, you customize your diet and activity to meet your own needs. Thank you.
How did you lose your weight from August to now?
I did, I downloaded MyFitnessPal and I put in every single thing I ate. And I'm gonna tell you something. I mean, like, if I made them pancakes or something and I decided to have a bite, which I did, I have the whole time. I allow myself flexibility because stressing yourself out will cause you to store fat too. But if I would have a bite of cake, I would do the math and figure out what to put into that MyFitnessPal. Because what happens is, if you're not writing down, and I know it sounds tedious as all get out, but if you're not writing down what you eat, trust me, you don't know what you're eating. You'll think, I'm only eating, and to sit down, say in the evening, and say, okay, now I'm going to do it. You won't remember. You won't remember the bite of this or the bite of that or whatever. So, I mean, you gotta, I think first of all, you have to decide, number one, to believe in yourself, I can do it, and two, I'm going to do it. You need a surge of motivation to come from somewhere, and sometimes we just have to generate that up, but oftentimes it comes from somewhere. Like, I went to Walmart and was checking out some cat things for my daughter who just adopted a kitten, and the Hispanic lady said, whenever you're pregnant, you're not supposed to, mess with litter and whatever. And I was like, well, that's super interesting for a 45-year-old woman to know. But I didn't say that. I was just like, oh, okay. And my fiance's like, whoa. And she goes, you're pregnant, right? And I was like, no. So I went home and I got in the mirror, and it was unfortunate. I had gotten so big, nothing would fit anymore. And so I just went to my kid's closet. I'm just pulling out whatever. And I was wearing this, it turns out it was actually a dress. I thought it was a shirt. But it was like a tank top with these red tight pants. And I took the picture, and boy, I did. I looked as pregnant as get out. And I just decided during the quarantine that was it. And that's when I completely changed. I had been in this industry for a long time when I was in college and then beyond college, and then left and went into design and other things. And I was like, you know what, I'm going back. And so I started studying, and it just, I'll tell you something, it's wonderful. This is a side note. It's absolutely wonderful to be able to do what you love for a living. And I'm so happy that I did it. But it was exercise. I did interval training. So what that means is you don't have to work out. What you need to do is take 20 minutes. And when you go in for that 20 minutes, just show up for yourself. But when you go in for that 20 minutes, go hard. Do intervals. So 2 minutes really comfortable, 30 seconds, all you can give. There was one time I was running by my church and I didn't think anybody was around, and I was doing a sprint that I just shouldn't even have been doing. And at the time I was mildly messing with the keto to get the results, and I was talking to myself like a numbskull, like some people do. And I was like, you can do this, you can do this. And I made it to the stop sign, and I stopped. And I looked over, and the landscaping guys were like, okay. But you just, that 20 minutes of intervals, and then from there, you have to have markers to track. You have to have things, because sometimes the scale's not going to move because you're building muscle, so you got to have the measurements. And then sometimes you're like, well, I lost 3 pounds and I've done this or that, but then you see a picture, you see a photo of yourself, taking photos all the time. So those markers, that progress, being able to track progress is very important. And also just probably one of the most important things is to find a way to find joy in the moment that you're in right now. Because we tend to, as people, we can get excited about something that's in the future, but about the time that we have it in our hand, we're now looking at this thing or that thing over there. And so what happens then? You're never satisfied, you're never happy. So to find ways before you have really seen a change to be happy now. So for instance, the first time that I went out and I put on spandex, and it was unfreaking fortunate. It was not good. Some women gain weight and they just keep these great feminine eye looks. It was bad. But instead of thinking about what I looked like, I was thinking about what I'm going to look like, what I'm going to feel like, and really in my mind, had a great soundtrack in my mind. That's where I was at. I was finding a way to be really happy and proud of myself right now. And if you take that and sustain it, then you're definitely going to see results. Anything else? I can go on and on.
Would you recommend something like the keto diet, cabbage soup diet, whatever, something where you get immediate results?
Never.
And then follow up immediately with the zone or the Mediterranean diet?
Absolutely, and that's the keto diet would be the way. I will say this, and I didn't say it before, so I'm going to do a disclaimer here. I'm not a medical professional. I'm a health and fitness professional. And nothing that I've talked about is meant to diagnose or treat any underlying conditions at all. You need to talk to your doctor if you've got pre-diabetes, hypertension, etc. That being said, I'm sure your doctor would even tell you something like the keto diet, something where you're kind of eliminating a good bit of carbohydrates will work for you, and it'll work well for the first couple of weeks. I've even worked for a weight loss company where for the first week they would just do meats and like green vegetables, and that would help people get where they're going. But you absolutely can do that. Just know that it's not sustainable, and you don't want to be miserable for that long. So, and if you want help with something like that, I can help you with it too. Like, yeah, I bet you can. Cha-ching. Okay. Anybody else? Phyllis, you got nothing? Got nothing over there? Okay. Oh no, that's okay. That's okay. Anything? Anybody else? Any comments? Questions?
What do you think of the Jenny Craig and the Weight Watchers?
Oh yeah, Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers. Jenny Craig is fantastic for those who don't want to have to prepare their meals, but they want to get full meals. So you go and you buy the products. Jenny Craig's fantastic. Weight Watchers, wonderful. They will. It can be a little tedious with all the tracking and the points and so forth, but it teaches you to eat responsibly. Weight Watchers is a wonderful.
I did that years and years ago.
Yeah.
But it was very good. But I did a Jenny Craig. I was still working. And I said, you know what, let me maybe it was during COVID. And I, wanted to go out as least as possible. So I did the Jenny Craig and I had it delivered. But I hated it. I really did not like the food and the portions. And I'd be at work and I was starving. And this little thing, I go, I can't live on this. Like, I'm happy. It's like my own little
The Jenny
concoction of
Craig,
things.
I think it was somewhere like less like 1,000 calories. And what happens, it's not like you think, oh well, which I think I've kind of explained that already, but if you tell people, okay, a pound has 3,500 calories in it, once you've burned 3,500 calories, then you've lost a pound. Oh well, then I just won't eat for a day. Or I'm gonna cut 1,000 calories. Oh, your body is a fantastic marvel of creation, right? And think about all the things it's doing at one time. It's homeostasis. It wants to keep everything where it is, which is fantastic until you want to manipulate it. When you want to manipulate your body, you got to think of it as a pendulum. So if you take a pendulum and you go this far out, what's it do? Boop, right over here, right? You take it up here, it's going to go boop. So if you try to starve yourself, you're going to get fat because you're going to eat a lot of cake. It's just the way that works. And the same thing if you cut your calories too low, which is what Jenny Craig did, which is what you're dealing with. And who's had this experience? Like if you don't eat and you're hungry, I mean like in your belly, empty, hungry, starving, then you eat. How long? Like you can put away some food and still feel like you are starving. So you're just putting all this because your body is slick. It will, you have to come in to manipulate your body very, 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 very subtly. And that's why we say 500 calories. And you can find a calculator online very easily, which will help you determine for your own self how many calories you should be taking in the day. Then you can drop it back 250 calories and then do some exercise, and you've got a perfect deficit for weight loss. Plateauing. So there are various reasons why we would plateau. One of them would be that you are actually going too low in calories. So your metabolism's kind of dropping down. And it's not just this mysterious, oh, my fire is not burning. If you're really tired and fatigued, you'll notice when you sit, you sit. Whereas when you have energy, maybe you're moving a little bit, you know, you're doing a lot more. So that could be one way to plateau, and the other way is that you're just getting things in there that you don't realize you're getting in there, or that you just need something completely new introduced, like a shake it all up type thing. But largely it's the first two, which is you're going way too low on calories, or you're getting calories that you're not realizing that you're getting. And see, I give it the middle finger. Okay. Anybody else?
Do you want to tell us about your next session?
Sure.
I think it's on the
what that
I think
is.
it's on the calendar.
The next session will be, oh yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, man, Marilyn, you're awesome. Okay, a couple of things, and I'll get to we're actually gonna do these seminars most Mondays. So Memorial Day is coming up, guess what, we're seminar, right? So it's gonna kind of function like that. And we've got the next 4 laid out. But I also want to do a little plug for my Total Wellness Transformation class, which Karen's gonna take, although she doesn't necessarily need it. It's gonna be a more advanced class for Karen. The point of the Total Wellness Transformation is for those who want to get into fitness, who want to get a nutrition program, but have like very little experience. And it's basically similar to what I just did, only a lot more interactive. It'll be 4 people per group because that enables everybody to be able to share. And the cost of the class is about the same as one personal training session. It's $80 for the month, $80 for 4 classes, or $20 per class. You can join with a friend, with some friends, however you want to do it. Right now I have a couple and I'm trying to get another couple for them. Hi Jill. And I'm trying to be strategic in the way that I match people up so that they actually get a lot out of the class. Now the next Wellness Straight Talk is, I'm exercising, but my body won't change. What's the deal? So that's what that one's going to be.